Right, welcome to another episode of Stoic Deconstruction. And basically what we're going to do is we chose a topic to deconstruct. And honestly, if anyone watching this has a topic that they want us to deconstruct in a Stoic mindset, please feel free to leave a comment or reach out to us on Facebook, any way that you can reach us.
Yep.
But today we felt like it would be good because Dobby and I were talking. And one of the things that came up was, how do we respond to money, free money that the government, money that the government says that we should have because of this coronavirus. And so today we are going to kind of deconstruct that situation, and we'll see what comes out of the Stoic mindset of that.
Yes.
All right. So let us screen share it. Screen share. Right. Cool. All right. Sorry about the delay. There we go. Okay. Sweet. It did that. It always does that, man, right when you have to share. It always goes away. All right. So what we got is the Stoic view of the COVID-19 stimulus check. And we are going to deconstruct it. How are we going to deconstruct it? Well, it's the same thing that we did on our last episode. Basically, what we do is this. First, there's the opinion or the expectation about the check. We are going to look at the event by itself. We're going to see what judgments are made about the nature of money and the government and people in general, and that'll probably be a very loaded, saturated topic. We're going to go into feelings and then behaviors at the end. So just kind of a recap of what we got. That's what we got.
And keep in mind, people, that this deconstruction that we do, while these are very large topics like money and Confederate statues, you can deconstruct any impression, the smallest impression. My boys were cutting down some of the beautiful greenery back here, and I examined that impression because it upset me, but then I had to really go through these same 5 steps, quickly break them down. But over time, you kind of skip steps. It becomes a lot easier. So hopefully, with this being the second time that we've done this, it may start to make a little more sense, because once we get into the judgment section, we become very explicit in the explanation. So you guys are in for a pretty exciting time.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Let's do it.
And Dobby, is there a bird out there or something?
Yeah, bro. I live in the
okay.
Back here, man. It's I got all the birds back here.
Okay. All right. Cool. So before we even get into the deconstruction, we need to know what the heck is going on. So what is the stimulus check? Obviously, a lot of people already know about it, but just kind of a quick recap is eligible taxpayers who filed, and this is important, who filed tax returns for either 2019 or 18 will automatically receive an economic impact payment of up to $1,200 for individuals and $2,400 for married couples. Parents also receive $500 for each qualifying child. So that's kind of the background. And here's the kind of issue that some people have. Some people are upset because they see unfairness in the allotment, which is, oh, I'm a single person. Why do I get $1,200 and married people, they get more? Or they might not have children and be like, oh, why do they get extra for having a child? Or the other issue is they didn't receive the check in a timely manner. And I know that I think there's still some people that haven't even received it yet. I've heard stories about it. So, so that's kind of the general overview, and we are going to go into the deconstruction. All right. So I guess you want me to take the first couple and then you want to take the last one? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So the first step, of course, is the opinions and the expectations about whatever is being examined. And in this case, it's the check. So most of us we live in a democratic society, at least in the United States. If there's other listeners or watchers from other countries, obviously, you would have to kind of tweak it to fit whatever government you have. But most of us have been taught that the government should help its people in times of need, in times of rejuvenation, in times when we need to see some impact, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people often ask themselves, do I meet the requirements to even get a check? I'm talking about, in this situation, people who think, oh, did I fill out my taxes for 2018 and 2019? Because that's the only way that the government would know to send you a check with that updated information that you had.
Right.
So check it out. That's just the information. Those are the expectations. And
all right, Bob. So, Bob, before we go to the second step, let's do that on time. So you just watched Nancy Pelosi or somebody say that we're going to get some money. What is Bob's step one? What is your opinion and expectation about the check? What do you, at this point, as a practicing Stoic yourself, what opinion and expectation do you have? Are you like most people and ask that question, or does it even come up?
For me, Dobby, one of my things that I have, just because my mindset, if there's more stuff in my life, I tend to pay too much attention and give too much credence to stuff. So for me, I'm just like, oh, whatever. I try to be like, if it comes, it comes. I mean, I'm not harmed if it doesn't come. So this is kind of just a surprise right now. It's kind of just a new event that is ultimately outside of my control.
Yeah, I'll be honest. When I heard that we were getting some money, I got geeked. I was excited.
You were excited. You were excited.
I mean, honestly, at the time, my wife was out of work. We had been struggling financially for about a year. We were living right above. I mean, from check to check, but sometimes we're pretty short. So the idea of getting some free money and $2,400, plus, the boys, or one of the boys, I was geeked, even though I knew I shouldn't have been excited about the money from a Stoic perspective. But realistically speaking, sometimes we all kind of fall off in our training. So it's pretty dope that you didn't even let the possibility of some money, get you excited. Like, if I get it, I get it. If I don't, I don't. I was like, yes.
Well,
$2,400.
Well, man, I'll admit, one of the things that kind of led me to my feelings is that I was like, oh, I filled out my taxes, so I don't have to worry about anything. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have to, in order to, even get this money that's ultimately outside my control, I don't even have to go out of my way in order to fill out all the paperwork to get it. It's either going to show up or not. So that was kind of like my mentality. Okay, yeah. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Yeah,
but if I didn't fill out my taxes, I think I might have been a little bit, anxious isn't the word. I might have been like a little, I guess, antsy to see what I needed to do to take those steps. But since I didn't, I was just like, dude, it'll happen or not. So,
Perfect. I think this is a great segue into step 2.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So this is so important from a Stoic perspective, because being able to look at the event without adding extra baggage and just the event. No, if you can just look at an event and just describe it, that's actually a huge achievement, because a lot of people these days, they add a lot of extra stuff.
Well, so my wife added something yesterday. Real quick, I dropped her off at work. One of her coworkers who got off, like as she was getting there, was standing outside. So as we pull up, she says, "Oh, he must be ready to go. He's out there waiting." So the event was the coworker was standing outside. What she added was, he must be ready to go. You see? Yeah. And so what happened is her behavior changed, because now she felt like, oh my God, I need to rush and hurry up because he must be ready to go. So when we look at the event, we keep it black and white. The government sent out certain amounts of money to individuals that did their tax returns. We don't attach that's I'm about to ball out. We don't attach
Yeah.
the blessing is just what it is.
And also we don't attach, oh, the government only sent out, or the government sent out more than what they were supposed to, or less. So it's important to look at stuff outside of the political perspective too, of how much you think they should have sent, or whatever the case may be. So it's good. Sweet. Yeah. Okay. Step 3. So I went ahead and split up the slides, and there's actually a continuation of this, but Dobby, did you want to take this one? Judgment of the government checks.
As somebody practicing this this philosophy daily, some of these impressions are tough to deal with. This is no lightweight stuff. So something like money, which we all have to interact with, and learning how to look at it differently is very tough. So in this step 3, I'm really going to try to break down the perspective and the benefit in looking at it this way from a Stoic perspective. So the question, is money a good thing? Now, Bob, you changed it. You said not necessarily. I did
change it. I'm
gonna persuade Bob to change.
Okay, all right.
So Bob says not necessarily. I say no, money is not a good thing. The question becomes, as people learning this, well, what do you mean? Why not? How could money not be a good thing? Well, let's look at it. Can you go to the next one, Bob?
Yeah.
All right. So the first thing we do, and please don't try to read ahead. You'll be confused. And I'm not going to read this. I'm just going to talk about it. The first thing that we're going to do is recognize that there are things in our control and out of our control. That's always the first step, right? Since getting these government checks is outside of our control, whether we get it or not, it's neither good or bad. It's an indifferent. It's just something that happens, by the grace of fortune. So it's not good or bad. It's how we use the money that makes it good or bad. And so, for example, 10 grand in the hand of the wrong person is a horrible thing. You put $10,000 in the hands of somebody that's going to do, great humanitarian work. The money itself becomes a good thing. And so the question always comes up, well, I'm a good person. So if I get money, doesn't that mean it's a good thing? No. And here's why. And I had to explain this to my wife yesterday. As soon as money, your cell phone, anything outside of you becomes a good thing, you're kind of indebted to it. The Stoics say you become a slave to it. And in a way, you kind of are. Because if you perceive that thing outside of you is a good thing, you'll do what you need to do to hold on to it. You'll attach a value to it that isn't a good. I mean, I know I might be getting kind of lost with you, but hold on a second. So what we want to do, I get carried away. What we want to do is throw away the impression that the government sending us money is a good thing. Like, I got super excited, right? $2,900. This is a good thing. As soon as I get excited that it's a good thing, I'm also depressed when I find out, oh, I forgot to file taxes. Oh, I didn't, I missed a step. So it's this judgment that we place on what's coming that determines the very next step, how we feel about what's coming. That was the segue.
Gotcha. And I wanted to say that Dobby, he had on the previous slide, is money a good thing? He said no. And I changed it to not. I'm keeping him on his toes, man. So I looked over the slide and I changed the text to not necessarily, but his explanation of that I agree with. So I don't really see a need to go back to that. So I guess that's good. I agree with that evaluation.
So now that we judged it, go ahead, Bob. I'm sorry.
No, I was done.
Okay. So now that we have judged that the money coming to us is neither good nor bad, we can go on to the next step, which is our feelings about it.
Yes, the feelings. And this is step 4. Oh, but before that, I wanted to show you a quote. And I really like this quote, and I know that we've actually brought it up before in our, our conversations too, is it says, remember that you must behave, and he's talking about in life in general. Remember that you must behave as at a banquet. Is anything brought round to you? Put out your hand and take a moderate share. Does it pass you? Do not stop it. Is it not come yet? Do not yearn and desire towards it, but wait till it reaches you. So with regard to children, wife, office, riches, and you will sometime or other be worthy to feast with the gods. And if you do not so much as take the things which are set before you, but are able to forego them, then you will not only be worthy to feast with the gods, but to rule with them also. For by thus doing, Diogenes and Heraclitus and others like them deservedly became divine and were so recognized.
You know what, bro?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, before Dobby lights it up, lights up his passion about the quote. I just wanted to say, if you don't really resonate with a lot of the, paganistic gods and things like that, obviously you can see that Epictetus thought that this type of go with fortune, go with your fate type of mentality was important. So yes, you were going to say something?
Well, when he talks about, and if you don't so much as take the things that you said before you, but you are able to forego them. My wife and I were talking about discipline. And, I was asking, like, how are the mantras going? Like, how are you doing exercising your desires and aversions? Because she's a Stoic in training. And she said, I'm having a problem with discipline. I can't discipline myself. And I said, if you want to discipline yourself, give up something that you love doing. And at first she was kind of perplexed, because in her mind, she was going to discipline herself by, I'm going to go to bed early, or I'm going to do this. It was the action rather than the work toward the action that she was missing. So if you want to discipline yourself, as Epictetus says, don't take the things that are set before you. Forego them. My wife loves to play some kind of game on her phone. I said, if you want to create discipline, forego the game every evening. Now you're training yourself to become disciplined in something. So when you do that, it like triggers this whole new set of way of looking at everything, and the way you feel about your surroundings. You won't complain about them anymore.
Yeah.
You will behave like you're at a banquet. You'll take your fair share. You won't complain when it doesn't come. You'll be happy when it does, and you won't be upset when it leaves. But we become so attached to everything and entitled, and we want it now, and we want more of it. We want our fair share. I want your share. That's not acting in any kind of divine way. It's contrary to nature, and it's not in relation with other people. So it's just not something that we ascribe to. Let's go on to the next one, Bob. Feelings.
Yeah, feelings. And also, I was going to add to what you said about training and foregoing, is that there's two different ways. There's voluntary foregoing, which is you simply by your choice decide to do that. And then there's involuntary, which is the circumstances of life force you to do that. And so as a Stoic, for example, I love with lifting weights. I love it. And one of the involuntary things that I had to forego was going to the gym, because there's a lot of people that are getting sick. Gym, you go and there's a lot of people that are breathing heavily and there's a lot of germs passed around. And I had to tell myself, okay, I have to involuntarily train in another way. But it shows a sign of good Stoic maturity to actually, let's say that the gyms were open and they were sparkling clean, there was no risk at all. One of the disciplines to do that would to be voluntarily giving up going to the gym, even if it was completely safe.
Right.
Yeah.
Great example. Example.
Yeah. All right. So the feelings. So looking inward. Yeah.
So when I first heard about the first time I heard somebody describe somebody as a Stoic, this image of a statue pops up, right? And these non-feeling people. So let's look about these feelings that the Stoics have and the benefit of not being elated or depressed. So you tell people, don't get excited about the money coming. You shouldn't feel excited about it. What are you talking about? Of course I'm excited. I need it. I want it. So what do you get from not being excited about it? Now, this is a tough one. I had to think about this too. What's the benefit? Why not get excited? Why not turn up? Why not, Because what you receive is freedom from not feeling as if you have to do any and everything to keep it. Think about that for a second. You retain freedom from not feeling attached to constantly interviewing for a new job, to constantly having to buy red bottoms, to having to look a certain way, because you don't attach yourself to the money. And when I say it doesn't have to necessarily be the money. It could be your status symbol, your BMW, your nice house in Clayton, your section of the hood, your block, whatever it is that you are using the money for. You don't have that when you don't get excited about it. You release yourself from being a slave to it. So how should you feel toward acquiring money? The same way you would feel toward losing it. When my wife had a great job and I still had a great job, money was great. And for a year, money sucked. But because I had been training, I never got depressed when I had $6 in my Cash App or when I had 600. Maintaining the same level of excitement, thrill, whatever you want to call it, is outstanding, because poverty no longer becomes a bad thing.
Yeah.
No longer becomes a good thing. I can live right above the poverty level and be okay. I can live like a king and not be haughty, arrogant, and live like without nothing and not be depressed or sad about it. It's an equilibrium. This freedom that the Stoics talk about is this tranquil mind, not to be attached to anything.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's outstanding.
Yeah. You know what's crazy? One of the things that came up, Dobby, when you were talking about that is, have you ever seen Wolf of Wall Street with Leonardo DiCaprio? Crazy movie, like totally lavish, totally foreign lifestyle, that a lot of people are not used to. When I saw that, one of my Stoic observations of that movie, kind of when I was thinking, is in any other situation, even the main character, he's a stockbroker, a successful guy on Wall Street. He's got a lot of money, he has a nice car, lots of luxuries.
Yep.
A bad day for him and making, let's say, only $100,000, let's say, like a bad day.
Yeah.
Those types of people, that they go into depressions. They go into, how am I going to make millions tomorrow? 100,000 isn't good. But when you reflect on his situation in comparison to, say, me, a teacher on a teacher's salary, it doesn't look as bad. And so there is this sort of, we got to maintain the status quo when it comes to luxury a lot of times,
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't have anything else to add. Well said, Bob.
All right. Thanks, man. All right, cool. All right. So, and I added this slide, and this is going to be this is our thought experiment for today. I wanted to throw this in here. So question to the viewer. Actually, Dobby, I want a question to you too.
Ooh,
putting you on the spot, man. Check it out.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right. He wasn't prepared for this. All right. So imagine that you won the lottery, not a government check, just the lottery, no strings attached. And I think that let's say 2 million. I feel like 1,200 isn't it. Let's say 2 million. You won $2 million. You don't even have to pay taxes about it. What are you thinking about?
I'm thinking about, what can I buy here in my backyard to make it a prettier place for me to sit and observe nature?
Sit and observe nature. I think that, I would probably be looking for, stuff that's nice to buy. I don't have to worry about groceries for a long time, you know, like all that stuff's paid for and then some.
Yeah.
This is one of my weaknesses. I'm really into cars, and I really like, you know, what can I do with my car to make it, you know, prettier, or this
Yeah.
stuff I got to work. This is like me admitting the stuff I have to work on.
Hey,
So yeah.
bro, when I went into, God, I forgot where we were, but I went somewhere with my wife, and I walked into a store. Like, I used to be, you know, into fashion. I used to be into suits and shirts and, you know, ties and all that stuff. I walked into a department store, and there wasn't anything in there I had a desire for, Bob. I just didn't want any of that stuff. So I've gotten to the point that, like, I don't need it. I don't want it. I don't have a yearning for it. If I never get it, I don't care about it. What do I want? I want to make I want to use my impressions. I want to, like, do this Stoic stuff. It's crazy. All I wanted. So 2 million, 20 million, Bob. 19,990 the bank, because I'm going to make my backyard cool and, you know, take my wife shopping or whatever she wants to do. But me personally, the money, it's just not that important anymore. I've really gotten to that point, man. It's nice.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So, yeah. I mean, the listener, obviously, go ahead and you would put in whatever you feel, but check this out. This is a really, Alex McClellan on the Stoic Psychology podcast, he had a similar thought experiment. Check this out. This is really interesting. Most of us would think of positive things, the stuff we would gain, right? All the stuff for the backyard, my stuff for my car, my grocery, you know, whatever it is, luxuries. But check this out. Remember that this is not necessarily an accurate view of the picture, because, well, it depends on what your judgments are. But for a lot of people, that sort of Wolf of Wall Street mentality often kicks in of, what are the negative stuff associated with money? We don't ever think about that. It's usually always the positive. We don't think about, oh, I won $1 million. How am I going to let my neighbors know that I'm more wealthy, or whatever that sort of pressure is, right? I just thought that was really interesting. And he uses the example with an iPhone. Alex does. If you get a new iPhone, you only think of, like, oh, it's got a better camera, it's got all these cool features, but you don't think about, oh, if you drop it, how much it's going to cost more for repair, or all these negative associations with it. So I just thought that was interesting.
Well, that's why Epictetus in book 3 says that you always should picture what precedes the action and the consequences thereafter. And then after that, then you decide, should I get the iPhone? Or, what should I do with whatever it is that I get? And so there was something that you said, man. It made so much sense. It's like an epiphany real quick. So, the benefit in not balling out and not impressing your neighbors, this is why the Stoics always talked about fitting in with the crowd. Like, outwardly, we should appear like everybody else. Inwardly, we should be completely different, because secretly, we really want to help change the people that we're influencing. But if we're flashy and braggadocious and, flaunting our money around, we'll create a distance between the very people that we're trying to help by being a good example. So you can't be a good example with $2 million and you're balling out like Megan Thee Stallion or whoever. Rather, as from the Stoic perspective, appear to be like everybody else. Make good use of your money, improve the neighborhood, or whatever good things you do with your money, but not for this. But not for the benefit of other people looking at you saying, wow, look at how good he's got it. We don't do things for show. And most people, I would imagine, if they got that money, the positive things would be to appeal to the people.
Yeah. Yeah. And going back to the stimulus check, heaven forbid that you'd use, if you were in a situation where you could use that money for, essential stuff, and you use it for those sorts of things, like a fur coat, or my sister told me the other day that she, she's not in the best financial shape with COVID. And she admitted, she's like, oh, I did it, Bob. I went out and bought a $900 fur coat. And I'm just like, there's the priority, so there's that.
Now, well, the funny thing is like, once you buy the $900 coat, does she think about the consequences? The people who are animal rights activists. Does she think about, all of the stuff has to come along with the purchase? Like if you buy a Lexus, you're not just buying a Lexus. You're buying looks. You're buying glares. You're buying prestige. You're buying possible theft. So all of these things have to be considered when taking any action. So that was cool that you said your sister?
Yeah, it was my sister. Yeah, we talk about that type of stuff all the time. So yeah, it kind of came up organically, but cool. Not on to step 5. Oh, and yeah, I guess the last thing, the money could cause some issues. And a lot of times Stoics in CBT, cognitive behavioral therapists, they call these mental perturbations, kind of a nerdy word to call it. But those are those mental issues that we use in order to uphold our status or our however we see ourselves, our self-image from winning that money.
You know how you get around mental perturbedness? By not valuing money, right? So if it's not a good, then you're not mentally perturbed about what money couldn't cause an issue. Your like you said, the judgment about the money. So put money in its proper place as something outside of you.
Yes.
Bad, but an indifferent. You see, if you do all of this stuff in the beginning, a lot of these these things don't exist once you remove the attachment to the money. We all need money. I need money too. I like to use it. And I'm not saying that you should be completely poor or rich. Know how to use the money in either situation. Or if you don't have it, know how to use that too.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. Okay. Here's a quote. Here's a Seneca from Moral Letters. It is in no man's power to have whatever he wants, but he has it in his power not to wish for what he hasn't got and cheerfully make the most of things that do come his way. That's a beautiful mindset to have towards life and just anything in general. It's really positive to have. Because what do we have control of? What we yearn for, what we want. These are things that are in our control, but we can't, if everyone could win $2 million in the lottery, obviously then everyone would be winning $2 million in the lottery. It's not everyone's stake to be a rock star or someone with a lot of, followers on Instagram with millions of people, so, right. But what is within our control as Stoics, and I would argue even just in humans in general, human psychology, is not to wish for things that we don't have.
And you know what? This is going to shock some people, but let's put it in perspective from Epictetus' perspective. He was a slave who didn't complain about his station in life. Mm-hmm. So even the Stoics, this is what's so beautiful about this. It's not racial, it's not classism, it's nothing. It's humanism, I guess. But it's the sense that wherever you are in life, you can be a slave. You can be a rich person because now you're a slave to a boardroom. You're a slave to these ridiculous meetings. So slavery is really a mental state. And
absolutely.
With wherever you are in life, be it a slave, be it a senator, you are free. Freedom is in the mind. And so this, what Seneca said here, has some real weight to it. And if you adopt this as a lifestyle, no one can imprison you. No one can take anything away from you. Everything that you want belongs to you already. Because what you want is to make good use of your judgment, make good calls on stuff, right? Be a good person, help the old lady. I don't know. You have control of all of those decisions, and no one can take that. They can take your house, car, they can take your kids, they can take your wife, they can take behavior mods, but not my decision on how to respond to what they've taken.
Absolutely. And this is why I admire Marcus Aurelius so much, because one of the things that he wrote to himself, one of his sort of mental enslavements that he have, and yes, I'm using that term. Yes, yes, he's emperor. Yes, but he was a slave in this aspect.
Yep.
And he knew that he was a slave mentally when he went to court, because he hated the tediousness of going to court and hearing all these things. He would rather be reading philosophy. He'd rather be a philosopher. And in Meditations, he talks about that a lot. And that was his thing. He was a slave when it came to his response to going to court. One of the things that's required of one of the most powerful people in the world, and he hated it. So that was his thing that he had to work on. Yeah. Yeah.
Slavery is being anywhere you don't want to be.
Yes. Yep. All right. And the last thing, behaviors.
Yeah. So, the last step in our mental ascension model and the way this all comes together is that from the beginning of forming an opinion about what's about to happen to how you judge it, it all leads to our behavior. They follow exactly how we feel based on how we've judged the situation. So if you feel like the money will change your life, it will, both when you receive it and when it leaves you. It clings and attaches itself to that which is not under your control. So when it leaves, you too shall be carried away with it. It attaches itself to that which is not under your control. I'm talking about your body.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you use the money to adorn yourself with, your house with, your car with, you want to trick out whatever you do, the money has attached itself to you doing those things. So when the money leaves, when you lose your job, when the $600 at the end of the month disappears, because you've attached the money to you and not your judgments, when the money leaves, you'll be in some kind of bad way. When I lost my job in 2016, the money was flowing. I was living like I felt someone with a doctorate should be living. I had made it, and I was buying stuff. I was living my best life. And when the CEO from Phoenix flew in and shut us down in 10 minutes, I almost thought I was clinically depressed. I couldn't function. I lost my position as the director of operations. I was next in line to really, there were some things that were coming my way that the money promised me. And when it was taken, those things too were taken along with my security, my self-worth. Am I not good enough? How could they fire me? All of these things that we never think about attach themselves to money when we attach the money to our body. We don't have any control over this. That's getting a little deep. Maybe that's another training session, but if you feel like the money will change your life, it will. It comes and goes. You'll come and go with it. It's best not to become elevated or depressed with it coming or going. That's the best approach. Use it when you got it. When you don't, forget about it.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that part of your story, man. Always good to have those stories. And if you're a new listener, you hear sirens. We both live in St. Louis. I live in the city, and Dobby lives in Ferguson, and the protests are right behind his backyard. Yeah. And so we got that going along too, and we got to roll with the punches. We got to roll with the sirens everywhere, both places. So I mean, that was that's how a Stoic would deconstruct we kind of went into money, but really we were talking about the stimulus check, because a lot of people really, when that came out, when the administration said that everyone was getting checks, I'm sure there's a lot of people who were like, when can I get it? I need it now. From a wide range of spectrums, one person might have needed it to actually buy groceries for their family. Another one was like, I need it for my new rims on my car, or whatever it is. So we hope that this helped you. And yeah, we're really excited to do more deconstructions, and we have some more good stuff coming up. And Dobby, did you have any final thoughts?
No, not really. But if you guys, have any questions or want to get at us, our social media links, and hit us up. We'd love to talk to you. Give us a mic. Can deconstruct anything.
Yeah, deconstruct. Yeah, please leave comments to deconstruct, and you can find us on Facebook. It's facebook.com/behavior mods. We're also on LinkedIn. We are in the process of totally redoing our Instagram, but our Instagram is behavior mods. Go ahead and give us a follow there. And should I tell them about our idea? Some kind of news that we're going to do, or we can leave it for another time?
Yeah, let's leave it.
All right, we'll leave it. There's some exciting stuff that we got planned for behavior mods. And yeah, hope you enjoyed the episode, and stay practicing. Really important.
Nice.
All right.